Okay, the first thing is, from a physiological development standpoint, I'm going to use the word hypertrophy. Right? Don't get, like, we're not talking bodybuilding, first of all. What we're looking at is that's it's a fundamental, like, base foundation. Like, that's where we measure everything from. Is we could call it, instead of calling hypertrophy, we could call it strength endurance too. It's like, think about what you guys do. Lots of push-ups. Like, hey, lots of endurance. When we think of endurance, we're not necessarily thinking marathon, because we're loaded down with weight, fatigue, and whatever else, and some apparatus probably. So that long duration, like, think about, like, even rucking. Like, put a moderate weight on your back, 30, 40 pounds. You can keep a pretty long clip for a long time. That's hypertrophy, right? That's taking a contraction, go over long periods of time. What it does is that constant repetition, like, we'll just, like, constant bicep curl over and over and over, whatever it might be. What it does is, it's not just about making your muscle bigger. What it's creating is motor function. Like, your rhythm, your technique, whatever it is, like your pistol draws, and we go from, like, here, we go to, I'm not sure, we call it touch points, right? When I go to touch point to touch point to touch point, those are positions of muscle skeletal positions that you get to go, oh, there's comfort. There's this points that we remember. Same when I hit a ball or bat, like, boom. As soon as that ball hits the bat, you're like, I know I hit the shit out of it, or if I sliced it, or whatever it might be. It's that repetitive, over and over, monotonous, like, decock and holster. How many times have we heard thumb, decock, and holster, right? Before they went over to SIG, or away from SIG. But point is that's what hypertrophy is. Hypertrophy is more than just get bigger. It's a memory. And that's the memory, either, like, I'm going to hit a hockey puck or a baseball or shoot something. I need to create memory. And so that's what the PST is. It's a test to see is, what is your physiological memory? That's what it is. And if our goal is to do 100 push-ups, we'll say, but we don't have the physiological memory of it, we'll never get there. And so how do we get there? What does that mean, my memory? We got to do the reps, we got to do the work, but there's a bunch of different ways to get there, okay? And so I'm gonna give you guys insight on what I'm really talking about. I'm gonna give you guys a scoop of hypertrophy, okay? Because we have hypertrophy for a test. Hypertrophy, like, that's kind of for PST oriented. And then we're gonna have hypertrophy for, hey, I'm done with the test, and now I'm deployed, or whatever, deployable. There's kind of different ways I'm going to look at hypertrophy on these, okay? Because this guy right here, this active duty operator right here is trying to do hypertrophy, because I need to do 100 push-ups, I need to do 100 sit-ups, I need to do 30 pull-ups, I need to run, swim. Everything's confined in a timeline. Because we've confined this person in a timeline, this right here, this type of hypertrophy is like, I need reps. This dude over here isn't concerned on his deployment about his PST. This dude's concerned about, after the difficult mission, I need to fucking remold and repair. So there's a little bit different things going on too. Just keep that in mind. For right now, we're really gonna focus on this, because this will really make sense once you realize, like, when we're no longer in deselection, the body type is way different, right? Like, think about, like, the body type that we have to kind of have to get through that selection. We have to be leaner, lighter, more aerobically based, typically. And then when we get to the teams, you're like, are we running as much as we are? No, but there's a different cardio for this guy. There's a different active cardio. So, like, we don't want to get those two confused just yet. So what we're talking about right here is, we're improving our PST numbers, and that's the first goal, okay? Because we're trying to improve our numbers here, and none of you guys are in a weight class, this is where a lot of your reps and work's gonna come, is in your hypertrophy. And so I want you to first understand that. Don't ever not start your resistance training with this. So, like, come back from deployment, start hypertrophy. If I don't know where I'm at, or something, or I'm injury, I'm gonna start hypertrophy. Because all we're doing is, we have to get some reps in. We gotta get a lot of reps. And so if you're looking at hypertrophy, here's one of the programs right here, guys. Just as an example, from all of our exercises, reps, and sets, that's the prescription. Like, here it says 4 sets of 12 on this first exercise. So we have 48 reps. That's just the prescription. I don't care it shouldn't really matter too much what the percentage is. It's just giving you guys an idea where to start, okay? And that's the thing, okay? Because here's the deal. Why is hypertrophy so important? It's because it's the way of training that shows you in real time what your limits are. What I'm saying is, like, if all of us got and did our push-ups right now, and we say, hey, we're gonna do perfect tempo push-ups, someone's gonna call them up, down, right? We're all gonna fail at a certain rate, a different rate. We all are, okay? And what is that rate, what's determining what we're failing at? It's what we trained. It's not who we are as people, right? It's really what we can do right now as a push-up. Right now, if we all did push-ups, it's an indicator of how we've been training. That's all it is. Or if we haven't been training, the numbers aren't great. But we could be training all the time, and then we go do max push-up. You're like, why are my max push-ups not? Because it's a test. Doing maximal push-ups is only an indicator of what you've done, right? Because it's saying like 1RM. We go that's why we're not using 1RMs, because your 1RM bench press doesn't give you much of an indicator of what your push-ups are going to be. So my point is then, if you're looking at hypertrophy on there, look on chest, for example, triceps, legs, back, chest. So on this one on chest, for example, for me, the way I see this is it says 4 sets of 8, 3 sets of 15, 4 sets of 8. So those are just total reps. To me, those are just shots. If that's 45 shots with my gun, we'll say. So I know fundamentally as an operator, as a SEAL, whatever I want to call myself, I know fucking without a doubt that if I'm on the range and I've taken good posture and all I've decided to do is take perfect shots, I'm absolutely certain that that is going to transfer into dynamic shooting if my base is good. Like I fucking know it is. Why? Because this is my reaction, my natural point of aim, whatever it is. That's all I'm training. Slow natural point of aim, fast natural point of aim, slow natural point of aim. That's all these are. They're just motor functions. If I can do a bicep with total awareness of like what's going on, what my posture is supposed to be, and don't break down from it, there's no difference than I have my pistol and I'm trying to get to that posture. This position is a posture. This is the position that I've decided I am the most accurate at. The same with my golf ball or whatever it might be. That's what hypertrophy is. It's a chance for you to reproduce those stressors that's not the test. Because if I've decided to do my bench press at 4 sets of 8 at that percentage perfectly, when it's no longer being done perfectly, now I have my limit. I know that. Like I know that. So I don't want to push through it with bad technique. It's like when we run onto, like we're doing a 6-plate headshot or something and we miss, and we start fucking, we press, and we finally got to stop. Get back on the line and shoot. And so that's the other thing about hypertrophy is your best friend for hypertrophy cluster your reps in total. So like if you add up your total reps per set, 4 sets of 8, that's what I'm at 32 shots on target. And my whole goal is because that's the stressor. That's what people don't ever train for. You get down in the leading rest in a tier 1 selection, no one is fucking letting it slide. Nobody is letting am I wrong? We've experienced it, right? Yeah. Fucking nobody lets you through that door unless your fucking reps are fucking perfect. So why is not every single rep that we do that much stress? That's how I've approached everything. Jesus Christ is standing over me with a fucking switch and be like, you're gonna do these reps right, I'm gonna fucking beat you. I mean, you think I'm joking, but that's what I visualized as a child. That was my upbringing, my own upbringing. So like, I'd never have understood how people can't, because that's the only way we transfer this, because we're the hardest on ourselves. But for some reason, we don't see this as an opportunity to drive our mental state. We're just gonna do the reps. But we never treat that way in a gun. So that's why I'm gonna say this is like hypertrophy, if you treat this like you're on the range and there's no time, you're the only stressor, right? And so what ends up happening is when you're shooting good, what do? We take less time in between. We keep shooting, we keep doing it. When our shooting gets poor, we tend to step off the line and slow down a little bit. Same. Because that's the only, because when we're shooting for accuracy, we're not necessarily shooting for speed. So if we take that, say we want that high quality rep range in our gun, but we don't want to present the gun faster than I can manage it. I don't want to present a rep faster than I can stabilize it. Because in a test, that's what I'm testing. I'm testing not the push-up, I'm testing, am I stable here and am I stable here? Because if I'm really good into my swim turns, my swimming is way better. If I have really shitty turns, the swimming really suffers the actual stroke. If my draw is really shitty, so does this, suffers. So the draw is just as important, man. So it's like if I'm on a bench press, if I'm on a squat, I don't begin to my descent until I know, like, don't fucking squeeze the trigger until we what? See a natural sight picture that we're okay with. Don't start your hypertrophy reps. Because that's the most difficult thing to do is in between your hypertrophy, I go, oh, fuck, I got 12 reps to go and I'm fucking shaking. Like, what do I do? I don't know, man. I got 35 more fucking doors to clear. What do I do? Same shit, cluster. In real time, a real fucking hallway. Like, that's what we do. We get cover, we take a breath, we re-engage. Treat your hypertrophy like your range time. Because that's going to be the biggest foundation you get. And think of how much time now you're focused on getting into those movements. Those are stress. When you get stressed in real life, I just go, boom, I know what to be. So this is stress inoculation. That's why hypertrophy is so important. Because the test is do as many as you can. Well, that's what hypertrophy is. Do as many as you can while holding position. Every exercise, that's the PST. And what I was saying to him is earlier, and I know you've probably experienced it too, is cadre. When you hold the keys of the city a little bit and you're watching a student or an athlete come in that's like kicking ass, you don't go over and go, good job, man. You go over to the cadre and go, watch this motherfucker, man. Like, he really prepared. Like, well, let's see what this guy's all about. You never tell them that, but you see, like, shit's going on in us too. Then we're that role, and all of a sudden we're the student again going, motherfucker. Put yourself in that same role, man, that the cadre want to see you perform. They really do. I really do. We've all worked with cadre and guys that we've put through training and are like, God, I'm glad I worked with that guy. You know what I mean? So be that dude when you train. Be that in hypertrophy, if that makes sense, okay? I can keep talking and talking, but I really just want to emphasize how much value we can extract of hypertrophy. It's not about growing muscle. It's about motor function development under high stress with the right body position. That's what it is, okay? And that's what hypertrophy is an opportunity to do that. And so the question obviously long times is, how long do I stay in hypertrophy? The answer, it comes in when you're dealing this. When you are accurately every single day, you're going in like, hey, I got my chest day, you know? I got my chest day and I did all 4 sets of 8 at a given percentage. Boom, that's a fucking win. If I've done that, now I can create a different challenge. And I do that by doing what? How do I create a more of a challenge at this? It's not more weight. I either decide to do it with more accuracy, more tension, whatever I'm doing, or I'm going to shorten my rest period on purpose. Because if I go into a little bit more fatigue, what does that mean? I need to come with a little bit more focus, and that's really the challenge. Does that make sense? The challenge comes in not overall mass. It comes in how do I acquire more reps to treat my nervous system that way. I'm trying to condition the nervous system to react when stress shows up. When bud selection, whatever it may be, or whatever selection, that's a lot of volume of stress. That's why the volume of hypertrophy is your first, like, I can handle this load. The amount of load that's been placed on you guys in selection, we've done that, so we checked that. So like, let's not go in thinking we just can do the load. You already did it. You guys have all lifted all the heavy shit already. Now it's time to be accurate. And so the hypertrophy becomes that. You got the heavy load, I'm gonna do the fucking work, but now I'm gonna do it the highest possible point of accuracy. And I'm gonna do that with clustering. And that's my hypertrophy. And when you start going through these reps and sets, you're gonna see that you're gonna get much stronger real quick, because when hypertrophy, weight training, the first challenge that shows up isn't it's too heavy. Because we don't do a rep and all of a sudden it just goes dink, it just stops. It's like, there's like 3 or 4 reps where it's like, it got hard. That's the shitty part is that's where the work began. It's like your first, takes me 12 reps to get into the work. Like, okay, whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying? Your first 3 is like, because it's like your first shot, you're like, oh fuck, it's a lazy squeeze. You're like, okay, man, not first lazy squeeze. And that's what's kind of hard about doing this. Like your first rep should be is like your cold shot. It's like, okay, so before I start my first rep, in reality, no matter what exercise it is, I'm just gonna go nice and slow and be like, okay, I gotta grease the groove. That's what I'm trying to do. It's like how many times we get on the firing line, get your gun where you want it, kit's all set, you touch first, and you're like, okay, now you're ready, bust them. You get everything set. You get in the starting block before you start doing your reps. That's the next thing that most people are super valuable but miss it. Get into starting blocks. That's like the same thing, as much intent as you guys put on getting on the firing line before your first volley of shots. Do the same thing in your squats, your bicep curls, like everything. Like when you're in a bicep curl position, go, where do I shoot from? Oh, you bicep curl from there. Because that's where I'm going to have to recall my strength from. Now, in the PST, we might want to be doing it with more symmetry, but that's what I was saying. The difference is the operator on this side, like my kettlebell swing for my selection guy is this. My kettlebell swing for you all is this, is swing, drop step, bring hand up, drop step, like I'm bringing my gun up. So the kettlebell changes for the operator. It's because your guys' skill goes up. We're gonna meet a higher skill with more higher skill stuff, but we don't wanna miss the base, okay? And that's where this is where everyone tends to omit this, and then they can't see like how high reps is transferring in their PST scores. And when you guys do this really accurately, immediately see it start transferring into your overall reps, okay? Questions, thoughts, anything at all? Anything?
Like every percentage on Hypertrophy 2.0, I'm like dropping. I thought I was fucked up.
Yeah, so no, that's fine. But see, understand it. Like no one makes a mistake, until like they've had a conversation with us and they speak our dialogue. So now, like I look at it like this. Let's say you said you hit all the reps. I'm saying that's a very much a distinct possibility because people do that. The question I'd ask myself is like, can I go back into the hypertrophy and does it look different now that I've said this? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And if it does, you're like, you didn't do anything wrong. You just added another layer of accuracy. Like if I'm doing this and I'm shooting good, but someone says like, hey man, open your foot up a little bit, relax a little bit, turn into it, you're gonna be a better shot. Like, oh, you wouldn't know that had you not done that. You see what I'm saying? And then the other thing, well, that may not work for you, but like, oh, but this does. So you don't know how to make changes from foundation until foundation becomes boring. You're like, that's where calisthenics loses its ability. At some point, the calisthenics are so good, you can do them so good, you can't be challenged by them. So we have to use resistance, and then we use calisthenics and speed it up to challenge the calisthenics, which is power and speed. So, but we can't challenge it until it's like the mortar. Think about a mortar tube. If it had a really fucking small plate, I don't want it, you know what I mean? The bigger the plate, so it's the same idea. Hypertrophy is your mortar plate. The bigger the fucking plate, the bigger the tube, the bigger the ammunition, the fast. You can choose anything you fucking want once you have the foundation. You can be big and fast or small and supersonic. What the fuck you want to do? So that's what we're giving you guys as choices, making sure your foundation is set, okay? This is an accuracy drill. I'm on a squat. I did my first rep. I'm feeling it. I'm not arbitrarily. The same way I don't arbitrarily feel this. I'm going right into a position that I trust. So on my squat, it's first rep, perfect shot. Next one, it's the same sight picture. Same sight picture. Until when? I can't do the sight picture. I rack it, whatever it is. Cluster. It's because we want that constant, persistent fatigue, like, fuck, off the fire line, do it perfect. Off the fire line, do it perfect. That's the name of our game, right? How many times, like, woo, next door. Woo, next door. Next, it's hypertrophy, man, over and over again, right? But we see hypertrophy as a muscle thing. It is. But what you achieve from that mind-muscle connection of hypertrophy is the incredibly high aware operator. because you have so many fucking reps that have taught you this is where to go, this is where to go, this is where to go, this is where to go. Every time stress shows up, you're like, I've met stress with a movement pattern of high accuracy that I'm always in control of. That's hypertrophy. Okay. What you know, you're like, my movement pattern is coming down just because this is a little bit too heavy. Right. Awesome. We drop down. Has the strain lessened? No. You have allowed for more strain because you've allowed for the rep. And so by allowing for the rep, you've now conditioned yourself at a higher rate of stress. Instead of failing at something heavy, everybody goes, oh, what do I fail? I give up. See, we don't want that. When we fail, we go fight. What do we do, right? If you got backed into a wall with your operator, with your butt, what would you do? You'd fucking fight, right? That's exactly what that's what hypertrophy is. Like all these, like, fuck, man, I can't go 10 by 10, but I can go fucking 8 by 8. It's just the mentality, and it's because I've taken a couple breaths. You visualize what you're trying to achieve. It's like anytime I get tired, I'm like, wrap a corner, fucking mag change, take a deep breath, tack mag change, bump my buddy out and go. Like that's literally what I'm thinking. Because I'm not gonna bump my buddy out till when? I'm fucking ready. In that situation, it's a different ready. Like, hey, I'm fucking ready. In this situation, I'm like, I'm training myself to calm the fuck down. That's the practice too. That's the stress inoculation we get too. It's like, when I'm, hey, there is no chaos. There is chaos, but I've chosen to step away from it and just breathe, right? And so that's the prescription. And then we go into strength. These will make, each one of these will start making a little bit more sense when we understand the other two is what they do for us. Because again, yes, hypertrophy, we think it means increased tissue, the hypertrophy, it's Latin. But when we hear strength training, people just kind of assume everything's strength training too. So we want to say, if we understand how to utilize the term hypertrophy and its physiology, like, oh, we know when to use it. Post-deployment, you come back. A fucking long deployment, beat up deployment, whatever it is, get back on your own life cycle, hypertrophy. Post-injury, hypertrophy. Post-illness, hypertrophy. Post-boot camp, hypertrophy. It's the place that we set our foundation for our nervous system.